Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Tuesday. And markets took a little bit of a breather today. S&P down close to 70 basis points. Q's down about the same. IWM down a little bit more today, down 1%. So we'll go through a couple charts, a couple levels to watch. But a lot of this in the beginning of the day, kind of what set the tone was oil. Oil was down 2.3%. Did finish a little bit off the lows, but still looking pretty awful. A couple levels to watch in crude. This is a version point of control, a VPOC, which is from back all the way back here. Again, the market seems to always remembers price action. Let's see if I can get back in here. Always remembers price action where there's a lot of volume before. So 41.33 is a level to watch for crude. And another support area, if that we break that 41.33 level, I would say 39.52 is where we might be headed here in crude. So, the question always comes up when crude starts to sell off or move up a lot, or any commodity, is there any correlation to equities? Between equities and crude? Well, it depends what equities you're talking about, right? So normally, no. But when there's a lot of volatility, it's same thing when there's a lot of volatility in the U.S. dollar, when there's a lot of volatility in, it could be a commodity, could be a currency. It will usually affect the market a little bit. The market just doesn't like things to be really upset in one particular area. So, there's no real correlation between oil and, let's say, tech stocks, but there is a correlation between oil and energy stocks. And are energy stocks in the S&P? Yes, they are. So they're going to have a little bit of an impact. Usually, obviously, and I don't think this is a grand conclusion for anybody, but normally when oil goes down, so does energy stocks. And again, energy stocks are in the S&P. So they will have a little bit of an effect, especially as there's a lot of volatility there. So that's my two cents on oil. Will it affect things a little bit when it's super volatile? Sure, it probably will, but there's no major long-term correlation between that and, say, technology stocks, right? So S&P was down, like I said, futures were down a little bit less, 43 basis points. We didn't really take out yesterday's candle, so I wouldn't really call it a reversal day. If you look at Nasdaq futures, which are going to look like a different candle than the Qs, but pretty plain and simple here. A little bit of a retracement of about half of yesterday's candle. It's going to look a little bit different than the Qs, and the Qs it's going to look a little bit worse. But you have this gap, and I know people like to look at these gaps, but the gaps go away when you look at futures. So probably people will be reading into this if you look at straight the Qs. If you look at futures, which I do more, then I don't think you really have much of a problem. Nevertheless, the level to watch, and I'll give you a Qs level. I can give you a Nasdaq level too, but really what you want to watch, really what you want to watch is this red bar here. So that's 139.11. So we did take out the open of yesterday's Qs. Again, if you look at it, Nasdaq futures a little bit different, but so I would watch 139.11. We'll see if that area, I think you have to be a little bit careful. We will start to get back to this area where we were last week. So could that happen? Yeah, sure, it's possible. We also breached the top of value on the hourly bar, which, Monday, obviously, we had a big day up, and then we breached this level. So I would really like us to reclaim this 139.57 level in the Qs. We did have some earnings out after the close, and it doesn't look like it's really pushing tech stocks too much or the Qs too much after hours. Adobe had real nice earnings. So it always, to me, kind of what I've thought the last few months. It gets really difficult to be bearish this market when, three companies that reported after the close today, and one that reported this morning, which I'll talk about, but Adobe, Red Hat, which is up. Red Hat is up to 99, almost hit 100 this morning from closing at 90. And then you have FedEx, which I think is still up, not well off the highs, but FedEx is pretty strong as well. We also had Lennar report pretty good earnings this morning. Keep in mind that it's Lennar. Sorry, my charts are all kind of screwed up here. If you look at the chart, if you look at the chart in Lennar, you've got this big kind of toppy looking candle, very similar to what happened with Toll Brothers. Remember, Toll Brothers reported about 3 weeks ago, and same type of chart, and it ended up going higher. It just took a little while. So same thing. I kind of read through the earnings call for Lennar, and I think everything was pretty bullish. I wouldn't say as bullish as the Toll Brothers call, but they're going to put in the same type of candle. So for whatever reason, they like to sell off these home builders after the earnings. So same type of bar, the similar bar that you could see that happened for Toll Brothers. So kind of let this thing digest a little while. It took Toll Brothers like literally 2 weeks before it kind of got a footing. It actually declined and kind of gave back that whole candle for earnings, which again didn't make any sense to me at all. I got long the home builders, and I've been long. I should say I've been long ITB for a while now. So I didn't really do any adjustment on there. The numbers still look good. We do get more housing data out. I think we get existing home sales tomorrow and then new home sales on Friday, I believe. So we'll see what that says for housing. Also, besides oil, I would say the area again to watch was biotech. Finished well off the highs, kind of sold off in the last couple of hours of the session, but big winner for us in the Tribeca trade room today. I went long XBI right on this first green bar and hit some really nice profit targets in this one. So here's my trade blotter. XBI out of XBI for 250, paid 166. The other one, which Gilead is the worst of the worst, I call it, in biotech. 7,000 of the weekly 64 and a half calls that went up in Gilead. So this was a huge winner as well. So I put I don't play weeklies that often, but they bought basically on the lows of the day, and we saw biotech. Sometimes you just have to put one and one together. When you see all of biotech rallying and you see Gilead kind of moving down, first green bar was where they started buying the calls, which I got into for about 30 cents. And I sold at a high today of a dollar, so a nice triple. So nice day trade on a day where there really wasn't a lot of momentum and kind of names just kind of trended down the whole day. Every little kind of rally today. We kind of looked at Apple a couple times today. Tried to get into value for the day and failed. Tried again one more time. I almost pulled the trigger on going long Apple here, and I just waited till this bar closed, and I said, "Oh, I'm not getting long on that candle." So, I think you just have to be patient. If you're a day trader, I take things like that, calls that are worth 30 cents for weeklies. I don't really try to mess that much around with day trading as much as I used to because of this kind of thing. Things can move around quickly, but do I think Apple goes up long term? Yeah, I think it just needs to kind of get out of this mess a little bit. And stay above the 100-day moving average, which is not pictured here. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. AMD, also the story of the day. Big call buying in the morning, and it was kind of just they followed through all through the day in AMD, maybe until the end of the day. But real nice move. That was a big winner for a lot of people in the trading room today. First thing was the 15,000 September 15 strike calls, but they just continuously added weekly calls and just buying in AMD. So real nice day today. I think it was up at 1.7.5% today. So real nice move. What else happened today? There's really not much else to kind of talk about. The MSCI is including China local shares. I just got this question again. Keep in mind, this is not, and you see people talk about this on Twitter, this is not FXI, guys. FXI is Hong Kong shares. Even though it's moving here after hours, which makes no sense whatsoever, they're already included in the in the MSCI indexes. Same thing with BABA, Baidu, JD.com. Those have all been included. It's really Shanghai shares. So ASHR. This is the ETF to watch. talk myself till I'm blue in the face with this one because I see it. They're like, "Oh, I'll go long FXI for this inclusion." It's like, guys, that look at what these, always when you're dealing with an ETF, look at what's in it. FXI, it's very, very different. It's H shares. It's H is in Harry, Hong Kong listed shares. Not so the two ETFs to really watch are this one, the CSI 300, which I just showed that on the screen, and what's the other one? I think it's KWA, is it, or KBA? Yeah, Crane shares. So this is the other one that's A shares. Again, when I go through this pre-market every day, we talk about China, and there's the CSI. So for example, these indices. Here's all the Hong Kong shares, which again are already included in the emerging markets ETFs that MSCI runs. But it's all these indices that are not included yet. So that's why you can see this name getting a little bit of a boost. But they're not doing this for some time. I think it won't happen for, I think it's 2018. So you can kind of see, this is why I didn't really put a trade on in this space, because it's not that much of an implication. There's already, again, you can already play these names. So it's a big deal. There will be money that will be put to work in China in about a year. But the ASHR ETF is out there for everybody, so you could already get access to these China A shares via this ETF, as well as the other one that I just mentioned. So that's about it. I'm not going to really jump to conclusions about today's price action. While it was kind of dismal and kind of gave back a lot of the gains yesterday. Really, until we break major support, I think is where I'm going to kind of change my tone. And also, like I mentioned with earnings, it's really tough to get bearish when we keep having names come out with really good earnings, like FedEx did, like Adobe did, and like Red Hat. You can see Adobe's up to 145. So that's it for today's recap. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.